All right, everybody, who's ready to see what could be described as the darkest Zelda of the franchise? I hope you are, because it's time to get a little spooky here on the show, even though we just had a horror game. We're going to see all fairy rewards from Feli, who is also joined by Morpheus, who will be providing the commentary. Take it away.
All right, what is up, guys? I'm Morpheus, and today we're going to be showing off the Majora's Mask speedrun category called All Fairy Rewards, and I can explain that in a sec once we get this run started. I'm assuming we're good to go.
Yep.
Okay, so I'll start giving the countdown. 3, 2, 1, go. Alright, so what is All Fairy Rewards? So basically, every dungeon, all 4 dungeons, have these stray fairies that have been broken up into pieces by Skull Kid, who has Majora's Mask, and the whole idea of this category is to get all 15 stray fairies in every dungeon, and the one in Clocktown as well. So it makes for a total of 61 stray fairies, and there's going to be a lot of interesting movement in this category, since it's generally, like, most dungeons are generally like skipped. You get the dungeon item and immediately skip to the boss, since the 4 remains are required to get to the moon and fight Majora. But there will be a lot more dungeon gameplay than pretty much any other category that's not glitchless. So this will be a pretty fun watch. And right now we're sitting through probably one of the most infamous things about this game as a speedrun is first cycle. Lots of cutscenes. Nothing we can really do to speed it up. Pretty much a segment of the game where it's like a very big tutorial segment as it's intended to be, but we can speed it up in some ways, but there's no escaping these really long cutscenes. Any percent, but with actually playing dungeon content, pretty much, yeah. So Link gets knocked off his horse, and getting his stuff kind of just taken right now. Mainly his ocarina. That's no good. We're gonna have to get that back. Alright, just a little bit more of this cutscene, and we'll get a very small sliver of gameplay before we're transported back to some more cutscenes. The first, like, 20-ish minutes of pretty much any Majora's Mask speedrun is usually gonna start off like this. But once you get past the intro, it is very fast, very non-stop. So we're gonna do some backwalking here, fastest form of movement for right now. And right back to some more cutscenes. Something that is interesting is this run is done on the Japanese version of the game, and both versions of the game between Japanese and English have their unique differences that are good for certain speedruns. One of the biggest things that this category will have is probably power crouch stab, which I can explain later, but it basically deals a lot of damage really fast compared to what you can do on the English version of this game. Generally speaking, the text doesn't matter. I think if you compare just the text in this game between Japanese and English, it only saves about maybe 20 seconds. A lot of the text in this game is very quick though, so even the fast text speed, or like the faster or shorter character amount in Japanese is not too significant when comparing to English.
Link just getting casually beat up by a fairy for some reason.
Yeah. Tattle is very feisty, I would probably say, is the best word to describe her. She doesn't hold back. But now we get access to Deku Link. And generally, if you're playing as like Human Link or Zora Link later, you want to generally space out your roll timings, but with Deku Link's spin here, you can pretty much just mash the A button and you'll get optimal speed out of it if you can't backwalk in certain spaces. Something I'll explain right now, so that way I can give Feli some time to focus for it when it comes up, is pause buffering. So the game runs at 20 frames per second, and that's the important part about it is we're coming up on a cutscene here, and some cutscenes take 2 frames of gameplay to load, to play properly, and Feli's gonna use pause buffering to get through this upcoming cutscene where the Happy Mask Salesman stops you before entering Clock Town. It's not too precise, but sometimes the door to Clock Town can be a little finicky, so you don't want to be too far left or right, or too close to the center even. But ideally, Feli gets this in about 10 or so pauses. I'll let them focus here. Nice. Big time save there. Failing that at any point loses about 40 to 50 seconds. I think depending on where you end up failing it, it's pretty brutal for the start of the run. And if you've seen a Majora's Mask speedrun before, you've probably seen other people reset after getting through that cutscene skip. But on the Japanese faster version, it's just a little bit faster to sit through all the text here. So now we're in Clock Town, and the biggest thing right now is we want to make it Night 3 as soon as possible, so that the clock tower opens up at the top so we can get to Skull Kid. But we also still have a few things to do before getting there, but we want to make it Night 3 as soon as possible first, since we want to be advancing in-game time as quickly as possible.
Out of curiosity, how long does it take to advance a day?
Um, so I don't know the exact numbers for first cycle because the game moves a little bit faster when you're in first cycle. But in a normal setting when you're not in first cycle, without inverting, a whole cycle takes about, I think it's like under an hour. A whole like 3-day cycle can take before the moon crashes. So give or take like 18 to 19 minutes, I think, per day. I think that's right. The interesting thing with inverting time is you can slow down the in-game clock to like a significant degree, and like one cycle will go from lasting under an hour, I believe, to almost 3 hours. So Feli was talking to Nana just a moment ago, the grandma at the inn, and every time you ask her to tell you the second bedtime story, it will advance a whole 24 hours because it puts Link to sleep. And the Scarecrow here can make it you dance with the Scarecrow from day to night. So we've gone from day 1 to night 3. So now we're just killing time until the clock tower opens, and there's a few things that we want to do first. Get some rupees for the bomb bag, get the stray fairy since we do need magic to get our ocarina back. And we're gonna get these rupees here in the inn. You can also get, you can farm for rupees in Termina Field if you backwalk past the guard that was close to Feli. It's a little bit RNG dependent. It mainly saves time, I believe, on just the in-game timer here. Every time you use a door here or go through a load zone, time does not move. But we got the rupees we needed, and we have the stray fairy now. So we're gonna work our way back to the fairy fountain and get the magic upgrade. This fairy fountain is interesting as it gives you 2 rewards. One you're forced to get. You cannot get the ocarina back without having magic. But there is a second reward that you can get after first cycle is completed. Yeah, not too much going on right now. This run in particular is pretty nice with magic too, because you're gonna have a lot of it that you normally wouldn't have unless you were playing 100% with the magic upgrade that we're gonna get later on in the run. So you never have to really worry about like burning through magic as much. It's a very real thing that can happen with like Goron movement and elemental arrows. So we're gonna deposit these 90 rupees into the bank. We only need 90. And this is to buy the bomb bag in the next cycle. This banker is... I don't know what to make of this banker. He's one of the few people in this game that like just doesn't care about the flow of time, because he just keeps your money stored even when you reset the cycle. So those 90 rupees would be there for us once we turn back time. I feel he does a gainer here. Pretty much a backflip in place. It gives you just a little bit more vertical height that you can get to climb a ledge. And now we're just killing time until the clock hits midnight. There's nothing else to do now. could start explaining some things that that will happen later on in the run, but I'd rather keep that a surprise for now. This game has a lot of cool and interesting tricks that we use to go fast.
While we wait here, do you mind if I just say a few words?
Yeah, no, go ahead.
Um, to all who have joined through all the raids, thank you very much. We are the Trans Speedrun Collective. We're a group of speedrunners and encompass anyone under the trans umbrella. Our goal is to help support each other in an open and welcome community for all who feel they belong. If you want to join the community, feel free to DM us on Bluesky or on Twitter. You can also DM me as well in case the main accounts don't get to the chats in time. But yeah, welcome everybody, and let's get back to the run as we're about to see Skull Kid.
Yep. The clock has hit midnight now, and the clock tower is open for the Carnival of Time, but we're just here to get our ocarina back. And the interesting thing about differentiating the way the game differentiates between first cycle or not is it only just checks for the ocarina on your pause screen. If you have it, the game assumes you're not in first cycle. If you don't have it, it assumes you are in first cycle. Just an interesting little thing. It does matter a little bit for the any percent category for no major glitches. But I didn't even know that first cycle had a different timer to it until pretty recently. But Skull Kid bringing the moon down, and we're gonna get our ocarina back now. He's had it for a little too long. Shoot that good bubble straight at him, and he drops it. We got our ocarina back, and we're taken straight into a flashback with Zelda. I guess re-teaching him how to play Song of Time. And this song is pretty important. It's the only way to save the game, at least on the Japanese version. You do have the quick save with the owl on English, but that is not a thing on this version, so if you moon crash or turn off your console, you're replaying everything that you didn't save over.
Oh no.
Yeah, this version is a little spooky compared to the English version. It does make up for it for having 3 save files instead of 2, like English has. But yeah, this song, it's really 3 songs in one. You have normal Song of Time, saves the game for you. And then you have 2 other variations of it with Song of Double Time, which lets you advance to the next day or night, up until night 3 when there's no more. And Inverted Song of Time, which lets you slow down the clock in-game, which is pretty helpful. Feli gonna play Song of Time here. Save the game. The game saves on the first frame after you press A to hit yes to confirm. So we're just gonna console reset here to skip some cutscenes. Alright, back in Clocktown. It's day 1. We have our ocarina back. So we're gonna talk to the Happy Mask Salesman and get another song. And more importantly, return back to Link's human form with Song of Healing. Yeah, we've got just a few more cutscenes, and then we'll be out. We'll be out of first cycle. Then we can really get into the meat of the run. It'll pick up very fast. We got the curse lifted off of us, and in return, Happy Mask Salesman asks us if we got back Majora's Mask. We did not. He's not very happy about that. Pretty much explains that it's a weapon of mass destruction that nobody should have. It makes you question why he even had it in the first place, but who really knows?
I have a theory why he has the mask.
Do you?
He's secretly, like, somehow the heir to Ganondorf, and since Ganondorf's been stopped, he's like, it's my turn now. But then he lost the mask.
Is that what he was doing in Hyrule before? Just setting up shop outside of the castle, just waiting for the day Majora's Mask showed up? Who knows? Alright, once we get past this little blurb of text here, is way more gameplay than we were allowed to have in first cycle. One of the first things we're going to do is get more rupees here in East Clocktown. There's a silver rupee chest that we're going to get. It has 100 rupees in it. And the main reason we need all this money is to buy explosives. Explosives, like in every other Zelda game, honestly, is really powerful in Majora's Mask. And we're gonna use them all over the run. So we're gonna make our way to the bomb shop now. And get the bomb bag as well as 10 bomb shoes. Getting the bomb bag is nice because it gives us a full 20 bombs to start with. So that's pretty nice. And 10 bomb shoes. So immediately after getting these explosives, we're going to be doing something called activating the Hidden Owl. Feli's going to get this money that they deposited in the bank first, and getting Infinite Sword Glitch. Infinite Sword Glitch basically lets you swing your sword infinitely. And that's significant because we can use the active hitbox on the sword to hover in place. Since while Link is swinging his sword, he cannot fall. So we're using the sword to just hover up this wall essentially and hit this owl. And the interesting thing about this owl is it's present as well in South Clocktown, where you're normally supposed to hit it, but for the sake of like visual effect, I guess, they also have it here in West Clocktown. But it also has like a soaring indicator, and we're gonna use it to perform something called index warping pretty soon. I'll explain that once we get the appropriate song for that. So, Feli making their way to the gate here in South Clocktown. And we're out into Termina Field. So normally, if you've watched a Majora's Mask speedrun, you're probably expecting the Swamp Gossips variation of getting to the swamp. Since our first main objective, outside of getting the Song of Soaring, is to get Sonata of Awakening. Swamp Gossips can be a little risky. It's very fast, but this method that Feli's going to be doing to get to Deku Palace is definitely a bit safer. And there's so much going on, I couldn't even explain time stop, but essentially, Feli pulled a bomb, waited until a certain frame of the explosion to be over, and used the cutscene item with the ocarina to stop time, and it negates any cutscenes from activating. There's normally a cutscene with the Skull Kid near that tree to the entrance of the swamp, but they managed to skip over that with time stop. And then just after that, they did what was called a super slide. It's close enough to a Hess. The main difference with the super slide is it gives you the speed of a Hess, but you can only go straight backwards, which is good for covering long distances if you don't have to like change your angle or something. But since we're not doing Swamp Gossips, we can immediately go get probably the fastest bottle that is available to us. Feli's gonna start a Hess now. This is the other big movement tech you would normally see with a bomb. If you keep the control stick in a position called ESS range, Link will start shuffling his feet or move to the left or right very slightly, and if you keep the control stick in that direction, or in that position, while using the invincibility frames off of your roll into the bomb damage frames, you can get a huge backwards speed, and that'll let you just cover crazy distances really quickly. So, I honestly can't even tell you the name of the witches, like which one is which. I know it's Kome and Kotake. I don't know which one is which. But one of them is badly injured, and the other one gives you a red potion to go help her sister. But we're not doing that. This is our potion now. Yeah, we're gonna need this bottle for later in the run, and this is probably the fastest bottle in like any run that you could get, to be honest. A lot of the bottles in this game are really slow to get. Now we're setting up for a trick called Big Octo Skip. This is the alternative of what you have to do if you don't do the alternate exit from the grotto to Deku Palace. You can use a bomb here to get a lot of speed off of the ledge if you're close enough, and it gives Link this huge burst of speed in the air, and you can just jump really long distances. And with landing up there, whenever you void in the water as Deku, you get transported back to the last piece of like solid ground you were on. and that puts you up there on that rock and lets you get past the big octo. And now we're in Deku Palace. The main reason we're here right now is to get the Sonata of Awakening. Every temple has a song associated with it. You can skip 2 of them. This is not one of them. This song... I mean, you could technically skip this one, but there's not a fast way to enter Woodfall Temple right now, RTA, without Sonata. Ooh, nice jump slash. Good save. So yeah, doing a lot of fast movement to make this platform cycle. Feli gets it pretty easily. Yeah, so this song pretty much hard required to enter Woodfall, so pretty much getting it right off the start. The main reason we do this song so early is because Deku Palace happens to be right next to the area where you learn Song of Soaring, which is one of the most powerful songs that we use for speedrunning. It pretty much, its intended use is to let you go to any owl statue you've hit before and activated. But with the hidden owl that we hit in Clocktown earlier, that Feli did with all those hovers, we can pretty much warp to places we haven't been before. And that's going to save a lot of time on overworld movement. So pretty much like any run makes a mad dash for getting Sonata, since it's so close to the Song of Soaring tablet. That was pretty well executed from Feli, that Deku Palace. That area is very awkward. There's lots of movement things that you can do to go fast on there with all the fences around, and you're trying to avoid the guards too. So now, setting up for this pop-up here, if you jump off that lily pad with a good enough angle and switch the human link, you can just pop up on the bottom of that rock. Little neat time save instead of having to fly around all the dragonflies that are around here. Probably the worst enemy in this game. Very, very aggressive enemies. And here is the Song of Soaring. And with this song now, I believe the first thing we're going to be doing is immediately going to Mountain Village. And you're probably wondering, well, we haven't been to Mountain Village yet. Oh wait, we're playing Song of Double Time first. This is for something later that I can explain when it's appropriate. But it is important that it's night right now. At least for this segment of the run. And also inverting time. Just to make sure we can make the events that we want to make. So lots of song playing. We're soaring now all the way to Mountain Village. Never been there, but with this hidden owl trick that we hit, we can pretty much soar to... Once we hit the appropriate map points on the map, we can pretty much go anywhere. Since it correlates your soaring location, or soaring destination, to where you place the cursor on the map screen, on the pause screen. So one of the first things that we want to do now that we have Song of Soaring is get Goron Mask. This mask is really good for just moving around. It's very fast. Anytime you do the charged spike roll, it has the same speed as a Hess. So you pretty much always want to be rolling as Goron whenever you can. Very fast and saves you a lot of bombs. Oh no, not the owl. This guy's talk range is huge. Very common theme in Majora's Mask. Everyone just wants to talk to you while you don't.
Sounds like TP.
But yeah, we need to get Goron Mask, and one thing that we need to get Goron Mask is the Lens of Truth. We could climb up to where Goron Mask is right now, but we would not be able to get it without Lens of Truth, so this is hard required. This mask is generally skipped in other NMG categories, but of the 60 stray fairies that we're going to be collecting in dungeons, exactly one of them is required to be used by Goron Mask, so we have to go out of our way to get this right now. Makes the run a lot better, though. Gives you a lot of fast movement. So we're going to be climbing up the side of this mountain here, getting ISG to make sure we don't fall off. And with a precise enough angle, you can side hop all the way up here. Yep, just get to the top now. Nice. Well done. Yeah, that skips having to climb a really slow wall. Otherwise, you have to, like, essentially climb a really long ladder on the other side of that mountain. And here is Darmani getting his soul healed, which also means dropping a mask for us to use. Yeah, as unfortunate as it is that, from a routing perspective, that we have to go out of our way for this one mask to get one fairy, it's honestly just a lot of fun getting to use Goron Mask. Probably my favorite transformation mask in this game. Alright, looks like we are soaring. I believe we're soaring back to Clocktown. What I saw on the map screen? Yeah, we are. I was forgetting this reason too for going straight to night 1. So the Stray Fairy in Clocktown is generally hiding away in the laundry pool, which is kind of far out, but at nighttime it ends up here in East Clocktown, in this plaza, and Goron can get it pretty easily. And we're backtracking again to the same fairy fountain we got magic from. And this fairy fountain gives us the Great Fairy Mask, but we're not gonna watch the cutscene. Or are we watching the cutscene? No, we're not. I'll let Feli focus here. Nice. Okay, so that is one of the fairy rewards that we get from these fairy fountains. But you can skip the cutscenes that go along with them for some of these. Some of these fairy rewards give you the item that you're going to be rewarded on the first frame of the cutscene. And you can skip that cutscene by voiding out. So, you didn't see it, but Feli does have the Great Fairy's Mask in their inventory. Now we're getting our last transformation mask, Zora form. And this is definitely one of the nicer things about playing on English. If you play on the English version of this, you just have to hold A to push him to the shore. But on the Japanese, you have to keep wiggling the stick in like variations of up to make sure he gets to the shore, which can be kind of annoying. Just like a very small quality of life change that they made. Alright, that's another Song of Healing. This is probably the last lengthy cutscene for a good bit. But we do need all 3 transformation masks. Getting to... pretty much... This mask actually is hard required. There's no way of getting into Great Bay Temple without Zora Mask, so... nothing we can do about getting around this guy. Not unless we find a way to enter Great Bay Temple without collecting Zora eggs. This is the bathroom break segment of Majora's Mask speedrunning. Yeah, this... from the moment you play Song of Time up until you have to start mashing text again, I think it's like about a minute long. Maybe a little longer. Alright, so now that we have all 3 transformation masks, one of the last things we're gonna get before we start what is essentially a dungeon rush is the hookshot. Hookshot is very good for just getting Link around all of these dungeons. He's not supposed to have the hookshot until Great Bay Temple, which is intended to be the 3rd out of 4 dungeons in this game. But having hookshot for Snowhead and Woodfall is very convenient. Lets you do a lot of sequence breaking in the temple that speeds it up by a lot. So we're here in Pirate's Fortress now. We're gonna get this hookshot. Probably noticed Feli was diving in and out of the water with Zora form. It's the fastest way of swimming with Zora. It can be a little finicky if you're too close to the water like that and he just skims alongside the surface of it. Ooh. Now we're gonna do some hovers again, like we did for the Hidden Owl, but we're gonna end it in a Mega Flip. So essentially a Mega Flip is using your invincibility frames from your roll in the air or on the ground to give yourself a burst of speed backwards that sends you flying like a big distance. pretty sure depending on when you press A, it can be a 1 or 2 frame trick. For as much as I've done mega flips, I'm not very good at remembering the frame data, but sometimes it can be frame perfect, depending on some things like when you press A or if you manage to have your shield come out while dropping the bomb. So another reason we want it to be night, aside from getting that stray fairy, is for that pirate at the front of the door right there. She cannot see you at night if you come in through the front like that. And it's not even like a lack of range issue, it's actually just her being placed a pixel like backwards too far, so she just can't see you. And it's only on the nighttime. It's only at night. That guard's intended to always see you if you walk through that door, but that was not the case in the Japanese version. It's fixed in the English version though. So getting the Zora Egg. Zora Egg's gonna have a couple of uses. Main one being essential to get into Great Bay. And now we have the hookshot. Very powerful item. And with that, that's the last piece of the puzzle before we start going through all the dungeons and rescuing the stray fairies. Screwing up a Hess, Weird Shot, or Mega Flip can potentially crash the game, yeah. So anything involving bombs that aren't super slides, as far as I know, if you do them improperly, can crash the game. Weird Shots aren't as bad on Japanese for varying reasons with the camera. But if you're too close to a wall with a weird shot and you mess it up, it can crash too. I don't know the exact details on why it even crashes to begin with. I can barely even replicate it now because I've burned it out of my muscle memory. But we've got Woodfall rising here. And we're on our way to our first dungeon. Generally, Woodfall is done first. In longer categories, it can be done later. But the main important thing about going to Woodfall first is getting the bow. The bow is a very important item in Majora's Mask. It's mostly required for Goat to melt the ice. You need it to flip Stone Tower with light arrows. You can get around these things with, like, varying means, but the longer the run, the better it is to just get the bow as early as possible and just use the appropriate arrows for those sequences. So this torch right here is, like, the main thing for making this temple really fast. With the hookshot, we can pretty much immediately get the bow. But since we are going through the entire dungeon getting these stray fairies, we are going to need some small keys. I think this is the only small key in this dungeon, actually. Another nice thing about Goron, actually, which is convenient, is anytime he's in, like, too deep of a body of water, he will just void out and respawn Link back to where he entered the room from. Which is really nice, because otherwise you would have to leave that room and hookshot the torch again. So that's just a small little optimization here. Alright, so we've got our bow. Now it's time to get the rest of these stray fairies. I believe, if I remember correctly, yeah, okay. So Feli's going to be doing something called Action Swap. I can't even begin to explain how this trick works, I'll be honest. But essentially, you can manipulate your first-person item, being Hookshot or the bow, and make it shoot a flaming arrow. Not the same as a fire arrow, because it doesn't use magic. But it's like shooting an arrow through a lit torch. And we can use that to get to this room a little bit early, since we don't intend on getting the boss key. So it's better to do this room immediately. Yeah, I can't even begin to explain why Action Swap works, I just know how to do it. It's a very, very interesting trick that even works at all in the first place. I'm gonna kill this Baba here for some Deku Nuts that it spawns all the time, as well as a Stray Fairy. Okay, this room is pretty cool. I'm typically used to doing this room in a hundo setting. I've not run this category yet, but this room is very cool. So after getting these Stray Fairies here, Feli's gonna come over to this side of the room and do what's known as a weird shot. So using the bomb here to... You use the invincibility frames on the explosion frames again. You can use it to offset the camera to go either really far under the floor or like really far forward, like into a wall essentially. And you can use that to hookshot things that you normally wouldn't be able to. At least not conventionally. And we're just lighting the torches in here for the final Stray Fairy. Well, the torches open the door. Getting rid of the bows in here gets us the last Stray Fairy in this dungeon. Holding stick is shootable first-person item, so you have ammo type 0, which is a lit arrow. I did not know that. Things I learned today. Alright, we have all 15 Stray Fairies now. And we're gonna go fight the boss. We do need all 4 boss remains before we can even go to the moon. So this is very required. Feli's gonna do the Woodfall boss key skip, which involves going out of bounds with a lot of bombs. Feli's gonna get ISG and hover up to this pillar and climb it as Zora Link. And Zora Link will walk to the side here, and you can clip into here, and this puts you out of bounds now. And with some properly timed mega flips, Feli will land in the boss room. Nice. Yeah, it really does just look like you're flying into the abyss doing this particular boss key skip. But the main reason that works is because the boss rooms are always loaded in. So the entire dungeon is loaded, and then the boss room is a separate room entirely. So if you can get to it out of bounds, you can just go to the boss whenever you want, essentially. Adola, pretty mediocre pushover boss type. Once you stun him, he goes down to 10 crouch stabs. Feli stored a jump slash beforehand. And after stunning a double, you just crouch stab 10 times. You don't want to be too fast because you'll get up. And now we have another decently long cutscene. You could technically skip this cutscene, but you also can't. You can do a trick called Remains Escape that Feli's gonna do later, where you collect the boss remains without having to watch these cutscenes, but the first cutscene of these, the 4 giants is required, since it's the only one that gives you the Oath to Order. And it's the only way we can get to the moon.
Small question. How easy is it to screw up that out of bounds into the boss room? And how far back does it set you back if you mess it up?
It has like really good audio cues that you can use, but if you do happen to mess it up, it sets you back probably like 3 or 4 minutes, because you end up not having enough explosives to try again. So you have to go get the boss key. In an ideal situation, you would miss the boss room entirely and void out. But if you land in bounds, you have to end up pulling out your ocarina and soar to the entrance and then go through the start of the dungeon again. It's a very big time loss to miss that. Probably one of the scariest parts of a lot of NMG runs is doing that boss key skip. Because it's one of those things that, like, even for like an average run, if you fail that, your run just kind of dies. So, very impressive on Feli to get that. Especially in a no reset setting. This game in a no reset setting is very stressful. There's a lot that can go wrong, to be honest. This next part's the most stressful. Ah, okay. I know exactly what we're about to be doing. Alright, so this cutscene's a little bit long. Generally, if you do Woodfall later, you don't have to watch Tattle apologize to Link for all the things she's done. But more often than not, it ends up working out that Woodfall's faster, since getting the bow is very necessary. But Feli's gonna do another one of those cutscene skips in the Fairy Fountain. This fairy reward ends up being the Great Spin Attack. So, really big spin attack, nothing too crazy. But what comes after is probably one of the more annoying segments in a Majora's Mask speedrun. You can... I guess I should explain the way fairy fountains work. So, fairy fountains, as well as grottos, have their own map. So fairy fountains share one map, grottos share another map of their own, so they're all linked to each other. And what that means is that if you know what fairy fountain you want to go to, you can technically just go out of bounds and get to the entrance of that fairy fountain to go to another part of the game. So after this cutscene skip, Feli's gonna do some hovers to get out of bounds and end up going to Snowhead. I'll let them focus for this cutscene skip. Okay. Yeah, I do not blame Feli for watching the cutscene. This part of the run is very intensive on bombs, and there's not really a good way to back it up outside of, like, maybe soaring somewhere and getting bomb refills. It's really bad. Yeah, this game very demanding on your explosive count. Alright, we got great spin attack. Now Feli's gonna try to get this hover started here. That's one, just one more. Nice. Alright, so now we've gone all the way from the Woodfall Fairy Fountain to the Snowhead Fairy Fountain. And what's really annoying about this one is right next to the dungeon. And that's a problem because there's a giant invisible Goron blowing all this wind, which pretty much impairs your movement. What you're supposed to do is get the Goron Lullaby to put him to sleep, so it stops all this ridiculous wind, but that's a little too slow, so Feli's gonna get ISG here to get closer to the ramp here, and use Goron to move all the way over here. And the other thing, so when I mentioned earlier during the Hidden Owl segment that Link cannot fall while in the air if he's swinging his sword, this also applies to like ledges. So now whenever Feli starts like walking up this ramp and getting blown by the wind, it'll push them to the ledge, but it won't push them off. So using Infinite Sword Glitch here is super helpful. Pretty much necessary. Oh no, that sucks. Oh, that snowball is so annoying. I think Feli's gonna need a bomb drop. Yeah, that second snowball's the worst, I think. Oh no, landed right on top of, that's crazy. Yeah, the thing that's really obnoxious about failing this too is your explosive count is really messed up at this point. I think probably the best backup here is probably going to Clocktown and buying explosives, if I had to guess. Yeah, Lullaby skip. Probably one of the most obnoxious tricks to do in a run, no matter what variation of it is. Because you still have to end up dealing with all the snowballs. Alright, we got some more explosives. 14 bomb chews and 10 bombs. Alright, Feli making their way back to the Fairy Fountain. It's unfortunate too, because there's technically a way to do lullaby skip from the owl, but for one, it's very difficult, and for two, it's also not possible on the Japanese version. So you pretty much have to do this from the fairy fountain. I mean, technically it's possible to do it from the owl on Japanese, but I'm pretty sure it's, as far as I know, only TAS only. Alright. Round 2 with Lullaby Skip. I believe in Feli. Alright, gonna get back into this corner again. Switch the Goron and get our roll started. Yeah, one of the more annoying things when it comes to this trick that not many people talk about, not just like the snowballs existing, like that's annoying, but the snowballs vary in size and it's all RNG dependent. So with a smaller snowball in that last attempt that Feli had, Feli probably, like, more than likely would have survived if the snowball was just a smaller size. But that didn't end up being the case. So, like, you always just have to assume, like, worst case scenario, like, you just get humongous snowballs all the time. Nice. We're in there.
Yo, can we get some hype in chat for Feli right now? Like, let's go.
Yeah, it cannot be overstated how difficult Lullaby Skip is in any run of this game. Alright, so now we're in Snowhead. I think this dungeon probably benefits the most from having the hookshot early compared to Woodfall. Lots of hookshotable targets that let you just cross the distances that you weren't supposed to. Or at least not as quickly as you're supposed to with this. And another fairy in here, and we're gonna do a weird shot here. There's a chest all the way at the top of this room. Nice. Alright, now we're on our way to get fire arrows. This robe can be a little bit of an annoying enemy, to be honest. He's just teleporting around, not interacting. But there is a cutscene skip you can do here after hitting him twice, if you time these attacks correctly. Frame late. That's annoying. It's really hard to get like a good, consistent visual cue. That's okay. Gets the job done. Now we got our fire arrows. far as I'm aware, this dungeon is entirely the same as the 100% routing. So I'm a lot more familiar with this dungeon than probably any of the others in this run. This room's really cool. We have to kill 3 freezards to make the chest spawn for this stray fairy. You can do a cool little cutscene overlap here on this last one. Nice. I love that one. Very cool. Yeah, going through this room, do need to grab this small key behind this block. And this is probably the slowest stray fairy to get. All you have to do is really just push this block all the way across this room. Yeah, the more I think about it, I'm pretty sure this is probably the dungeon that benefits the most from having hookshot early. There's just so many things you can hookshot to. Like, getting to that chest would otherwise require either going around to this room that we're going into, or a damage boost with Goron Link. Which is slow and not great, because it uses the bomb, and you only really want to use bombs if you have to. This Wolfos is really annoying. Hopefully it doesn't hit them. Okay, nice. That guy likes chasing everyone. Not a fan of him. Alright, blow up the wall and that crate for the stray fairy. And here you can throw a bomb onto this snowball up there, and it barely just reaches and can break it. And we hookshot it for another key. And this dungeon expects you to use Lens of Truth a lot as well, but we don't need that. Alright, next room is potential for a lot of bomb drops, hopefully. From these 2 pods. Get the invisible stray fairy in that ceiling. Ah, 1 bomb drop, that's good. 1 is better than none. That stray fairy just completely missed. I still don't understand how these stray fairies fly. Alright, we're gonna do a long jump here to get across. Otherwise you'd have to fly around with Goron the whole time around these ramps, and that's not fast. Alright, good. Nice.
So no rolling around at the speed of sound?
No, not in here. We got the hook shot. But we got a little bit of rolling right here. Alright, just a few more stray fairies before we go all the way back up to fight the boss. Got 2 from these. I always forget if it's Lizalfos or Dinophos. Annoying lizard guy that I don't like. Always dodging attacks when I don't want them to. Alright, and here is the 1 stray fairy that is hard locked behind Goron Mask. No other form can push that switch down. Neat little time save here. If you're Deku or Zora Link and you walk in lava, you void out. Which is nice, because it puts us way back up here where we just were. So now we got all 15 stray fairies. We're on our way to the boss now. Nice. Honestly, no matter what method you do for getting inside of this tunnel, it's scary. One roll off this ramp for the fans, and it is going to do a pretty funny boss key skip. With a good enough angle, you can just clip through the door, because Goron Link is so big that it just pushes him between the icicle and the door.
Who needs keys?
Yeah, it's very funny in Rando as well. If you have Fierce Deity, I'm pretty sure you can literally just hold up into the door without any icicle assistance. So we've got Goat here. Probably the most non-noteworthy boss. There's a little bit of RNG with the spikes that can spawn on the floor, which is really obnoxious. You can sometimes kill runs if things go really poorly, but generally all you're going to be doing is standing in this one spot and aiming for Goat with arrows, side hopping to bait him to not run, because he's on a timer. Once the timer expires, he starts running at you, but if you side hop and you make him shoot lightning, it restarts, and you just pump him full of arrows. The main thing I want to talk about is the damage that Feli took upon entering the room. They walked into Goat, who was frozen, took ice damage, and is damaging down. They're doing this for a trick called Remained Escape, which I mentioned earlier. And essentially, it lets you skip the Giants cutscenes. I'll let them focus here. Nice. So, for some reason, if you have Hookshot held in your hand, and you place a bomb, because you can pick up bombs as an item, if you place a bomb inside of the blue warp while holding Hookshot in your hand, it lets you pick up the blue warp. And the moment you pick up the blue warp, like the first frame of blue warp is airborne, the remains will be inside of your inventory. So that skips a lot of cutscene and also a lot of backtracking in particular for this fairy fountain, because it would spawn you really far away if you watch the Giants cutscene. But now we're just gonna backtrack to the fairy fountain here. Oh no, voided there. Alright, gets the ISG. Yeah, so just making our way down the ramp. Nice. Just back walk in, nice. And we've seen Feli do these cutscene skips in these fairy fountains, with voiding out and starting the cutscene, and voiding out after that cutscene starts. We cannot do that for this upgrade. We cannot do it for this upgrade or the upgrade in Great Bay. The main reason for that is these upgrades are given to you in the middle of the cutscene, so we have to sit here and watch them.
The horrors of having to watch cutscenes. Oh no.
Yeah, unfortunately, we do have to watch another Fairy Fountain cutscene later on. But that one won't be for a while, I believe. So, we're already 2 dungeons down. Feli playing Song of Time. Gonna need to go back to Clocktown and buy some more explosives. Feli's also gonna have to... I'm pretty sure going to Pinnacle Rock would be faster for an egg at this point. I'm pretty sure. Since Zora Egg is very much required to get into Great Bay Temple. Thankfully, you don't go into Great Bay until a little bit later in the run. I think it's the last temple in this category that we do. Yeah. Making our way to the East Clock Town test, getting 100 rupees. Gonna fill up on explosives here. Alright, so we got our explosives. Now we're on our way to Stone Tower. Fan favorite dungeon. Definitely my favorite in this game, at least. And we're going to be doing that time stop glitch again. I can go over it just a little bit more. But essentially, you're using the explosion frames, the end of the explosion, to overlap with pulling a cutscene, or starting a cutscene, which would be the ocarina here. And Feli had stepped on the switch beforehand, before pulling the bomb. And with the switch there, it moved the block all the way across, so we don't have to solve that puzzle or get the Elegy of Emptiness. So, going through the left side here of Stone Tower first. And this is probably one of the coolest things I've ever seen in this game. I have not watched much of this run until recently. But Feli's gonna set up a weird shot here. Feli's gonna hookshot this crate. That puts them out of bounds, and they're going to hover in place. Turn the camera around after falling, and do another mega flip. Nice. And takes them to this really, really far away room that happens to be loaded in. Because this entire left side that Feli entered is all loaded in at the same time. And we need to get a Stray Fairy here. And the only other way to get to this room would be to swim around to the other side, which is not exactly slow, but this ends up being faster. Honestly, one of the coolest parts of this run, I think. I was very, like, blown away when I saw that for the first time recently. Ugh, these dragonflies are so annoying. Always just zooming around where you don't want them. Now, Feli's gonna do a setup here into the corner, placing a bomb, and with enough speed, the bomb will push you through the corner, and you can just fly straight through. Which is very convenient, because we don't have either the mirror shield or light arrows. Alright, gonna do some specific movement to get the boomerang to hit through the wall. And we'll come back for that chest in a little bit. For now, though, we're gonna make our way through the dungeon. Totally unique to this run. I think so, too. See, it was the first time I ever saw it when I was watching a VOD for this run to study up. I was very, like, blown away by that. Alright, another weird shot here. Weird shots are very good in this dungeon. Lots of walls to get around with hookshot. Normally you need to use the mirror shield in this room to destroy these sunblocks, but we don't have that, but we can weird shot through the floor. So this is a cool setup here. There's a stray fairy that we need to get here. It's right across this vent. Ooh, no. Yeah, this one's a little tricky. Alright, opting for the safe movement. Really don't want to die in Stone Tower. This is one of the most... Like, you would have to backtrack a lot if you die in Stone Tower. So, very smart decision from Feli. Here's another weird shot. This one, a little unique. It pushes you. This one will push you forward. Most, if not all, of the weird shots Feli has gone for in this run have sent them underneath the floor. But if you delay letting go of everything, letting go of all the buttons necessary in a weird shot input, by a frame, instead of shooting you below the ground, it shoots you forward through walls. Oh no, oh no, oh no. Okay. Not dead. This fairy is very obnoxious. Being surrounded by that flaming chest. And now we have the Gara Master fight. This fight has potential for time loss for reasons that are out of your control. He can either run at you and swing the sword immediately, or run at you and jump away. Jumping away is much slower. Nice. Good RNG. Nice chest spawn. I have no idea how to... where to stand in this room, to be honest, to not have that happen. So I just consider it a blessing when I don't have that happen in a run. But now we have light arrows. Main use for it being flipping the dungeon on its head. But we still have a couple more stray fairies to get in regular Stone Tower before getting to that. Gonna use a bomb to hit the crystal switch here. Alright, is this hip loop gonna troll? No, he's very cooperative actually. Sometimes this guy will just run straight at you and not give you any space to set up properly, because you can't deal damage to him until you take off the mask. Now we have an Igor here. Pretty simple enemy. For the longest time, and like most other people, I would just shoot arrows into its eyes, but you can just drop a bomb where he slams his hands on the floor, and that gets rid of him. Another cool part unique to this run is this weird shot here. Generally in 100% you would get this stray fairy a lot earlier. But it's faster to just weird shot through the wall here. You can hook shot onto the BMOS here. Now we're just gonna do some cleanup here before getting ready for inverted stone tower. Getting another weird shot set up here. This one is to hit a sun switch that's normally accessible in inverted stone tower, but with just a few glitches you can shoot it here in normal stone tower. You're intended to like go back and forth between both versions of this dungeon to get everything, but that's slow. No one wants to be doing all of that. This room in particular is very annoying. Those fish are very, very aggressive, and you really can't do anything about it. Small version difference. On the Japanese version, you cannot hold shield as Zora went underwater to activate the Zora barrier unless you're swimming with A, like doing the fast swim. So the whole time Feli was swimming there, they just had to rise and hope they didn't get hit. On the English version, you don't have to worry about that. Alright, and that's it for normal stone tower. Now we're gonna go ahead and go outside and flip dungeon. Normally you would have to move the blocks that are blocking the gem to gain access to inverted stone tower, but Feli's gonna do a trick here called an extension, bow extension. I don't think you can do this with hookshot. I don't think it does anything, but bow extension lets you shoot arrows through the walls without having to do a weird shot. If you target, hold forward, and press bow, and target again, Link will step forward and pull the arrow while pushing his hands inside of the collision he's standing in front of, and that'll give the arrow just enough space to shoot through a wall. Very, very handy for flipping stone tower, because otherwise you would have to do a much more involved setup involving moving the blocks. So, hitting the sun switch here. And Feli's gonna do a setup here to get this long jump to the other side. Refill on magic, that's a lot of magic. So I'm gonna target the Death Armos here, and then drop a bomb, dry roll, shield turn left, C up, hold target, and the bomb's gonna push them just over here to lead grab. And now this chest here will spawn. We'll come back to that one in just a moment. Right now there's this really, really far out stray fairy that we want to get as soon as possible. If you're familiar with the 100% route for this would be the last stray fairy you would get in that category. But that's only convenient because you have milk, which I don't even want to get into because milk is such a weird and broken item for how non-assuming it is. But we want to get this one out of the way as soon as possible and then soar back to the entrance.
I blame the aliens.
They know they know something's up with the milk in this game. But one more light arrow here to get rid of the Wizroad. Makes Hookshot go a tiny bit further, but can't go through walls. Yeah, that's what I figured. Not very good for Hookshot. Unfortunately. Must sound so weird if you haven't seen her run. Yeah, I can't even begin to explain Milk. It's such an incredibly broken item. Just lets you do so many things, but I do not have it here. Alright, Feli is setting up this ISG here. And gonna hookshot this upside down chest here. Let's stop their hover with a chew. And we want to try and backflip onto this chest and swing our sword. Nice. And from here you can just kick it open and open it upside down. Something that's very funny too is this Stray Fairy also ends up being upside down in its animation. Only one in the run like that. Alright, gonna do another corner clip here with a bomb. Just a little bit faster than setting up a light arrow, and we can use these air vents here to recoil off of these bomb explosions, and the damage will push us all the way back into this little alcove. And we're on our way to get the last Stray Fairy here in Stone Tower. Again, behind a flaming wall. These are probably the worst chests to get in this temple, to be honest. Nice. Yeah, the alternative to that is just like trying to go for a one-frame A-press after hookshotting the chest, or like using your invincibility frames from taking damage. Very annoying. Flaming chests are just obnoxious. Waiting for the night transition here, just so it's not in the way. Gonna do a recoil here to another Igor. Yes. And we're getting ready for another boss key skip here. It's finally time to head into the boss room. This is definitely the longest dungeon of the 4, if you end up having to get all the Stray Fairies. So, with a precise enough position here, after slashing the wall 3 times, you can just do a recoil and it clips you through the sides of the door. And we're in. So anyone who's played this game before probably noticed we did not pick up the Giant's Mask after defeating that Igor, and that's because it's really slow. And we're going to use a bunch of arrows to get rid of these two instead. The nice thing about this fight in particular with arrows is fire arrows and as well as ice arrows deal more damage to the opposite color twin mold. So red arrows are doing more damage to blue ice arrows are doing more damage to red. So blue does not take that many arrows to take down. This fight can be really annoying at first though, because it generally feels like the AI will team up against you. And that can suck if you're prepping a shot early in advance, because it'll consume your magic even if you didn't shoot your shot. But once there's only one Twin Wolf left, like there is now, it becomes a lot more manageable. With the additional magic you get from getting double magic, as well as having light arrows here, it doesn't take that many arrow shots to get rid of these two in this category. But the hitbox on these tails, very awkward, to say the least. Light arrow. Nice. That fight, very annoying. Very well done from Feli though. It's annoying mainly because it tests such a different skill set than probably the rest of the game ever does. It's such like a whiplash kind of thing. Nice. That Remains escape is a little awkward because the Remains happens to end up being on that little raised platform, as opposed to like a flat surface like the one for Goat or Gyorg will be. Very well done. And now we're on our way back to Great Bay. Since Feli did have to play Song of Time to get more rupees for explosives, they are going to have to get another Zora egg before we can go into Great Bay Temple. Oh wait, first we need to get the fairy reward. This one is so far out of the way in comparison to the other fairy rewards that I forget it exists. Even though it is probably the most iconic one of these rewards, it's the Great Fairy Sword. Very powerful sword, looks really cool, it's a two-handed sword. This is another one of the Fairy Fountain cutscenes you can skip, but Feli's bomb count is a little too low, so playing it safe, very smart. To Great Bay now. There's not too much left of this run at this point. Final dungeon, get the final reward, and then we're off to the moon. Alright, so it does look like Feli's going to be going to Pinnacle Rock here. Definitely the faster of the two for getting a Zora egg. So generally, or at least you're intended to get a golden seahorse here to guide you through this maze. But it's always the same, so you can just memorize it and swim through it just like this. be able to see Feli get another trick here called Ocarina items after getting this egg. Nice. So you're not intended to play Ocarina underwater in this game. Pretty sure they fixed that in the 3DS version. But if you're in ESS position on the control stick and press a cutscene item and interrupt it with your sword. I think you can do this with other items, but it's mainly used with your sword. You can just pull the ocarina out. So, very fast way of getting out of Pinnacle Rock, because otherwise you have to swim back out. Time for some egg counting. We're putting 7 of these eggs in this tank, and Feli's doing a glitch called Equip Swap. So, if you press the analog stick and a C button on the same frame after page turning, you can equip an item over another item. So Feli is equipping the Zora egg over the light arrow slot. And we have to do this 7 times to get New Wave Bossa Nova. Yeah, I have not been keeping count because I was explaining how to do Equip Swap, but these Equip Swaps have been very clean so far. This is a very, like, easy trick to, like, get into a funk with and just, like, fail it for 10 or 15 seconds. Which feels like an eternity, to be honest. Especially with how fast the page turning is in this game. So, like, you can do multiple attempts really fast, and, like, failing it more than, like, twice or even 3 times just feels really bad. We've got all 7 eggs, though. And Feli's gonna be attempting to do a cutscene skip here. If you press Ocarina on the correct frame, or mash the start button, I believe mashing start has 2 frames to it, you can press either start or Ocarina, and it will bypass this cutscene. Nice. So the moment you, like, pull out your ocarina to initiate that cutscene, the game gives you the song. So we don't really have to watch that, so we can just soar away. Now we're on our way to our final dungeon. Probably the most nerve-wracking cutscene skip in pretty much any run. Any NMG run just does this cutscene skip. It's probably the most nerve-wracking one. This is a turtle cutscene skip. This trick is the same as Happy Mask Salesman cutscene skip, where you want to advance 1 frame at a time to get into the load zone, to trigger the cutscene while taking the load zone. But this one, you only have 1 frame to pause the game on, as opposed to just backwalking and pressing pause whenever you want. Let them focus here. Nice. That cutscene loses so much time if you end up watching it by accident. It's like well over a minute of time loss if you fail that pause. That's like, that has to be, in my opinion, one of the most nerve-wracking tricks in a run. And now we're off to Great Bay Temple. So late into the run too. Yeah, Great Bay usually ends up being late into speedruns of this game. Very few runs that do it early. So having to deal with this usually near the end of your run is pretty scary. But Feli nailed it, made it look easy. Now we're on to probably the hardest dungeon to have to get through quickly. There's a lot of moving parts in this dungeon, whether it's like all of the gears turning, the water flowing, the water wheels, all the enemies too. There's definitely a lot going on in this temple you have to be aware of. Light the torches for the first fairy, and immediately upon entering this room, we're on a timer now. We want to drop a bomb shoe immediately to get the stray fairy below this platform and shoot that skull to side hop to get into a good position here. Get on the elevator, turn around, put on Goron after getting the second fairy. And with good timing, Feli's gonna roll onto this water wheel here and skip having to... Oh no! Oh, this room is so hard. Yeah, getting the Goron roll off that water wheel is very tricky. This looks pretty good. Nice. And immediately into an out-of-bounds swim. This corner clip here. C-upping to get a good angle. And the scary thing about swimming out of bounds in this game is that I believe it is, if you swim into any space that, I think if it doesn't have water, it pretty much will void you out. I don't know if that's entirely right, but there's a lot of zones underwater out of bounds that you just cannot swim through, or you will void and spawn back at where you last entered. And voiding in this particular room is very scary, since you would have to do that Goron water wheel again. So good stuff on Feli getting that swim. Gonna get this pot here, this potted fairy. And we're gonna swim up into the map room. Get another stray fairy out of this pot. And we're gonna do some sequence breaking here now. This room is very laggy. Very hard to hover him. Nicely done. And immediately into this room, we're gonna place a bomb shoe alongside the wall here. And that's gonna ride around to destroy a barrel that's holding a fairy. While that's going around, we're gonna drop a bomb here and do a weird shot to clip through this wall to get to this treasure chest that's on the other side holding another stray fairy. side hop all the way to the next room. And I'm gonna let Feli focus for this room real quick before I explain what's going on. Ooh, did that hit? No! Just a little too high up. So Feli tried to do some precise movement there with the bomb to long jump to a good spot on the water wheel and get that hook shot onto the chest, but there is a backup here that we can do with another weird shot. Going straight forward through the wall. You can just hook shot straight through here. Now we're gonna wait for this moving elevator here. There's another stray fairy in that little alcove here. What is that, 12 stray fairies already? This dungeon's moving so fast. Okay. Next room is 12.
Still pretty fast, though, considering, you know, hasn't been that long that we've been in here.
Yeah, I'm very used to how lengthy this dungeon is in comparison in 100%, so I'm definitely surprised every time I see this run how fast Great Bay Temple moves by. Getting rid of all the Babas here. Getting another fairy. Already almost done with this temple. There's another fairy in this pot right next to these Dexy hands. Now we're gonna climb up this ladder. Normally, in 100% this would be the last stray fairy you get, but you also usually have ice arrows in that category, and we don't have them here. And we need to get past this ladder here where the water is falling. So we're gonna hover into here with some explosives. Before making our way to the last fairy and boss room. Nice. Yeah, lagging or hovering in laggy areas like that, very hard. Because generally you want to press your bomb shoot and then shield in the next frame, but that can be a little delayed sometimes with how laggy things can be. But that's all 15 stray fairies. Now it's time to go fight Georg. So there is an out-of-bounds swing you can do where that barrel was with that stray fairy, but it's only a little bit faster and it's a lot more risky than doing this main entrance boss key skip. You can clip into the floor here through that torch with Zora Link, and with a good angle here, after pulling bomb, you can just recoil into the boss room. Just like that. Very nice. And immediately starting into this fight, the fight's already started, to be honest. Feli's going to be doing this weird shot here. Georg's already loaded into the boss room upon entering this room. And we can interrupt the cutscene of him starting the fight and the music by doing a weird shot. And that'll stun him and make it so he doesn't, like, do the whole, like, boss intro sequence. And now Feli is going to try and get Gaior to come near. And now here's the cool part. I'll let it happen and explain after. Nice. So, what just happened there? So, Feli stunned Gaior. They then switched their items to get Great Fairy Sword and Zora Egg out. Jump slashed with the Great Fairy Sword to store the damage from that. And then got ISG, hovered off the bomb that you just got ISG with. And then used a cutscene item to dive onto the floor with the sword out to essentially one-shot Gaior. This is also a very cool application of having Goron Mask here. Normally you want to Death Warp out of dungeons once you collect the remains from Remains Escape, but Goron can just void out because he can't swim. Honestly, very nice addition to the run because damaging down versus Gaiork specifically on the Japanese version is a huge pain. Very easy on English in comparison. Alright, we have all 4 boss remains. We're on our way to get our final fairy reward, and then it's off to the moon. It's honestly pretty cool just how fast this run goes. Once you get the hookshot and you finish doing all the prep work necessary, the run is just go, go, go through all 4 dungeons. Alright. Final fairy reward cutscene. Cannot skip this one. It's given to you in the middle of the cutscene, this reward. This one is the double defense upgrade. And with that, all that's left is to soar back to Clocktown and get to the moon. Another nice thing about having Goron Link here, you can get into the clock tower pretty easily with the help of a bomb here. So if you pull a bomb here and time Goron Link's pound animation, it'll pretty much damage him at the peak of his jump. And it lets him get just enough height to clear that door. And we can just get into here much earlier than we're supposed to. Normally you would just hover in with bomb shoes or bomb staircase hovers, but definitely a lot easier with Goron. Now all Feli has to do is play Oath to Order, and then we get like 5 minutes of cutscenes. No joke. So get comfy.
While these cutscenes are playing, do you mind if I say a few words?
Mike's all yours. Go right ahead.
All right. This again is our first event. We are a speedrun group for anyone under the trans umbrella. If you wish to join the community, you can message us on Bluesky or Twitter. We're typically more active on Bluesky, or you could message myself if you know me and you just feel more comfortable for an invite to the Discord where you can say good morning at any time of the day. It's become a bit of a meme in the community where we literally have a good morning channel. There are a lot of cool people in the community, and obviously a lot of them have ran today, such as Feli. And yeah, so if you want to consider joining the community, feel free. We're kind of active in there.
We got the four giants working together, stopping the moon. Something cool about this game is that they didn't even have to do this, but if you manage to come up to the clock tower without all four boss remains and play Oath to Order, this cutscene still plays out, but instead of taking you to the cutscene where the moon stops, the moon just keeps falling. It's just like a neat little detail that they added in for this part of the game. It's really cool. Yeah, just another minute or so, maybe a minute and a half of more cutscenes, and then it's on to the final boss. Oh, the mask was alive the whole time? What a twist. Yeah, the final boss in this game, generally not very easy, unless you have the Fierce Deity mask. It's got a lot going on. There's 3 different phases to it. Lots of different strats that you can do. But should be a little easier with the Great Fairy Sword. It does the most damage that you can do in this game without having a Fierce Deity mask on. So it shouldn't be that bad. But there is still a good amount of RNG in this fight, despite that. But I'll go ahead and preface this now. Time will be on the final hit of the 3rd phase of Majora. So I'll let you guys know when that's coming up in a few minutes. Right now we've got phase 1, the mask phase. Starts off pretty simple. Feli's gonna use these Zora boomerangs to stun the backside and then shoot it with a light arrow to deal the most damage. Or actually Great Fairy Sword in this case. Yeah, that's what I figured. So after taking enough damage, the remains start coming to life, and this is when things get really annoying, or can get really annoying. But 2 jump slashes is all it takes. Next phase is the most chaotic of the 3. Incarnation really likes to run around really fast. But I think... Let's see here. Arrows equipped. Oh, wait. Big spin attack? Yeah. That move is huge with Great Fairy Sword, actually. And deals a lot of damage, and we're already onto the final phase. Time is going to come up on the final hit, which I believe will be after the 5th crouch stab. Feli is going to store a crouch stab, or store a jump slash and crouch stab 5 times. Oh, what a careful stuff. So getting to bait it, alright. 1, 2, 3, 4, time. GG's.
GG's. Great job, Feli. Everyone, please go follow Feli. She's amazing. Any closing words from you, Morpheus?
Not much. I just want to say thanks to Feli for inviting me to do comps for this run. I really do love this game a lot, and it was an honor to be here. And thank you guys for hosting the event. It was really cool to be a part of this.
All right. And that was, again, an amazing run from Feli. Everyone should go follow Feli. She's very close to top 10. Very, very close. And don't go anywhere, because we still have not 1, but 2 Backrooms runs coming right up.